One. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of GG Gaming. Today is Thursday, September 15th, 2022, and it has been a long time since our last episode. I'm your host, Andrew, and with me I have Jules Rose.
Hi.
What's July? Was that the last time?
Yeah. Time
Just
isn't
too busy.
real.
No.
I don't believe in it.
Um, so I purposefully waited to ask how you've been to this so that we didn't have to have the same conversation twice. So, how have you been?
Oh, busy. So busy.
Busy?
A lot going on. Yeah. Oof. Also, summers here are just horrendous. So I feel
Hmm.
exhausted most of the time. But other than that, good.
Well, I mean, like, how is summer in Japan?
It's humid. It's
Really?
rainy and humid, and then it's like bright and sunny and hot and humid. Yeah,
Lovely.
it's not great. It's really not great.
Where in Japan did you say you were?
I'm in Tokyo, and I will
Okay.
say I did go to Hokkaido for summer break, and it was not humid. So if you're going to go to Japan in summer, go to the north, which just
The
makes sense.
north.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hokkaido, yep.
Was it cold? Is it cold there or it's just cooler?
No, it's just cooler. It's just not humid.
Okay.
It's just like you
Okay.
have the sun and there are hot days, but for some reason the going outside and feeling like you're slogging through actual moisture is not present.
The way you said that sounds so gross.
It's not great.
Slogging through the moisture.
It feels like it.
Oh no, is that going to be the episode title? Slogging through the moisture?
It should be. It's how I feel every
Maybe.
day.
Okay. Okay, so already we have a possible episode title.
Fantastic. Doesn't even
Slogging
have
through the
anything to do
moisture.
with games, just
Nope.
weather.
That's the way it goes here on GG Gaming. Anything could be a title.
It's a good one.
um
Yeah. How are you?
what was it? I've been good. I finally got my new computer and it is fantastic.
Nice. That is nice.
um Nice, fast and smooth. Yeah, like twice as much RAM. So that makes me realize how, like, why it was so slow before, because a lot of things took up a lot of RAM and it
Mm,
just could not handle it even after I upgraded the old RAM. So for all the powerful things I got to do, whether it's Photoshop or Final Cut Pro or streaming this, it works so much better.
nice.
So
Nice.
I'm currently using up like 29.34 gigs of RAM, and the physical memory is 64 gigs, and it's just like, yeah, that
Yeah.
would have been too much for the other computer to handle.
Right.
And it sounds like memory being a lot of RAM being used, but I know I just have a lot of crap open.
Yeah.
So whether it's Skype and OBS or then Photoshop or the internet, and it's just like,
Right.
can't, what is, I can't. So, but yeah, let's talk about games. Have you been playing anything? Or as you said before, trying to play
I've been
anything?
attempting. Yeah, the other thing about living here, it's such a double-edged sword. So the games are really cheap. Like I
Mm-hmm.
bought a game that would have cost $60 in the States for like 27.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice, but then I'm having trouble figuring out which ones will be language locked. And so far, I've gone half and half, basically. Half of them have been language
Mm.
locked and half of them have not been. So I have been attempting to play some games, but some of them I can't read yet, or I can't read that fast. Like if I sat down with it,
Mm.
I could read it, but like it's like so story driven, and I'm like I can't enjoy the game.
You mean like the Japanese text?
Yes.
Oh, I keep getting thrown off because there's like this center view thing, and so like my camera keeps following my face, and it keeps throwing me off. And I'm like, if you
Whoa.
see me like looking around, I'm like, what?
Oh,
Huh?
I do see that. Yeah, your camera's like slowly.
Interesting.
Whoa.
Yeah. Huh.
Whoa.
That is.
Fascinating.
Interesting.
Huh.
Oh, I don't know how to turn that on or off in case I'm like hiding anything.
God.
No, but,
Yeah.
well, and I just have my Switch and my phone and my 3DS and some games over there, and then I have a laptop and a calendar, so it's not like I'm really hiding
I
anything.
was about to say, I feel like
It's
you're
just
pretty
weird.
safe, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't know how it looks on the YouTube because I'm just looking on Skype,
Yeah.
so I don't know how it looks on YouTube. Hmm.
I
I'm like
mean,
waiting for it because it's on a delay. So I'm like,
right.
what does it look like? I don't know. Anyway,
Interesting.
so what have I don't know if you said the name of the game, but what have you been trying to play?
I've been trying to play Shin Megami Tensei, which
Oh,
is a title by the same people who do like Catherine and Persona.
mm.
And I can't play it. So I'm going to go back to the States
Is it because it's in
in a
Japanese?
month. Yeah, it's in Japanese and it's like very story driven. So I'm like, I tried playing it for a bit, but like the whole intro segment, I was just like, what is happening? And we had this Japanese guy over at this point, and I was just like, can you just like read this and like translate it for me? And he was just like, it's too complicated. I'm like, oh God. So if it's too complicated for him,
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to buy an English version
Well, why didn't you buy it in English?
because I live here and I don't
But
sell
I
it.
mean, Amazon or eBay, Amazon.
Yeah, that's might be my next thing. I guess because it was so cheap, I was like, oh, maybe. And I have bought other Japanese titles that have switched over to English. So I'm like, all right,
Mm.
I might as well try with this cheap version to see if it's possible, but it wasn't. So
Hmm.
now that I know that,
Interesting.
I will
That's gonna be
sell it
frustrating.
and buy an English version.
Or you could keep it as a souvenir.
I could.
Just
It's
like
like,
I got this in Japan.
but I have to buy a whole nother game. So
Eh, I guess so. Well, so I mean, is your intention to buy your games in Japanese because you're in Japan?
well, not necessarily. It's more so. I mean, if it's a game that's like relatively easy, like I also bought Splatoon 2 and
Hmm.
it was language locked and I was like, I don't care if this is language locked, it's Splatoon. So I would play that and try to
Hmm.
figure that out. But like if something is really complicated and story driven and I'm like, ugh, I just kind of want to play the game,
Hmm.
then I'm gonna go to the English version. So
Did we talk about last time Sonic Origins at all?
the
Because
comment
I forget. I think it came out June. Was it June 23rd? It came out
no, I don't think we did.
or
I mean,
July 23rd.
might have talked about
It
it a
came out
little
on
bit.
Sonic's birthday. I just don't remember if it was June or July.
Oh,
And I feel pathetic for not knowing that.
oh God.
Oh God.
Whether Sonic is a
Um,
what is it, a Gemini or a
I think it was
Cancer?
June because it's supposed to be. Yeah, I think it's June.
Okay.
June 23rd. Because I think it's supposed to be the date. It's supposed to be Sonic's birthday, which is, I think, the date the first game came out. And when I was working on the Sonic timeline, I just remember, like, saying June 23rd, 1998. That's the
Right.
date. The very first Sonic the Hedgehog game, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, that stands out for me. So it must have been June 23rd. So if we recorded in July, then it was out. So I don't remember if I talked about it at all.
Uh,
But I bring it up because speaking of uh, buying games in a foreign language, I mean, it's one of those games that has no language in the gameplay
right.
part because it's a silent medium. It's like Sonic 1, 2. I mean, I guess the signposts and CD say future and past.
Right.
But there's like limited words. It's not very dialogue driven.
Sure.
So that's a game that I'm sure you could get in Japanese, but it's digital only anyway. So
Oh, is it?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, right. Well, then, yeah, it would just be.
Actually, how does that work for you?
That's
You
a
have
great
an
question.
American Switch, right?
Yes,
And you're in Japan, so does it connect to the American eShop?
I think yes, it does. It connects to the American eShop, which is
Okay.
interesting to think about, because everything else is like obviously we're in a Japanese like Wi-Fi setting, so I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how that, but it must just not need a VPN. It must just connect
Hmm.
automatically to the American because it's an American Switch. So, yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting.
it is interesting. So
I
yeah,
guess
I
it's
guess I
like
could
when
do
you
that.
get a I guess it's like when you switch your VPN, although it's not switching your VPN on the Switch, but there are what's the word I'm looking for? Not companies. I guess there are things, devices, or whatever. Darn it, what's the word I'm looking for? But
Things,
anyway,
devices.
there are these things, brands, companies, whatever,
Uh,
devices, whatever that switch like the NordVPN thing. Not that I'm advertising it,
right.
but they have. I don't even know if that's what it is, NordVPN, but because I hear like YouTubers talk about it, like advertise all the time. But there's a VPN thing where you can switch your VPN to another country.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it works similarly to that or not.
Yeah, because that's what I have on my laptop. I have a ExpressVPN and I switch it to
Hmm.
America when I need to access anything
Right.
from America. But
Interesting.
um
So how does
yeah.
Netflix work for you, or those streaming services? You get the
Mm,
Japanese ones?
yeah, I get the Japanese ones and then I can switch to America if I want the American ones
Hmm.
because a lot of Japanese Netflix doesn't have English subtitles. Um
Hmm.
so it would be something they have so much. I love Japanese Netflix. I would just stay on there if they had English
So they must
subtitles
have
for
a lot of
everything.
different anime, right?
Tons. Every like they have like all of the anime. They have anime that's like coming out right now.
Oh, the anime.
Yeah, they have like
Hmm.
Spy Family that's like was coming out weekly. It was coming out weekly on Netflix as well. And I was like, "Oh, this is
So
so
it's
sick."
basically the Japanese equivalent of Crunchyroll,
Pretty much. Yeah.
unless Japan has a Crunchyroll, which I don't think they would,
I
right?
don't think they do. No. I don't think so. I could be wrong, but every
Hmm.
time I try to go to Crunchyroll when I'm not on a VPN, it doesn't work. So,
Hmm.
I don't think so. But no, you have
That's
everything that you need
interesting.
on Netflix. It has like everything. They even have like K dramas. So
How is the pricing there? Because I know somebody mentioned once before on like a Reddit post or somewhere. It could have even been on Twitter. I don't know where. But someone was saying like, oh, not to me, but just in general or to somebody else. Like I saw the conversation like, oh, you pay that much, like 15 a month or whatever for Netflix. Like here, it's only $2. I'm like, $2 a month? Where do you live? You know?
yeah, I don't know
So,
because I'm still technically being billed
but
from like an
you have
American
the
Netflix.
American one. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm not sure, but I now that you mention that, it would be interesting to look into because the dollar is so strong still.
Yeah.
So,
Don't jinx it.
knock on wood.
Knock on wood, or whatever
Interesting.
this material is that looks like wood.
Knock on
um,
this fake
but
wood.
anyway, let's talk about some games.
Okay.
They just had the Nintendo Direct. I don't know. Did you see it?
Yes, I didn't see it, but I know some of the
Okay,
announcements.
I
So,
watched like most of it before I had to head out before, but
any
I mean, I've
highlights?
seen like updates and stuff. The new Zelda has a title. It's no longer Breath of the Wild 2, which was obviously not going to be the title,
Right,
although I suppose it could have been.
right.
But I don't think any Zelda game has ever used like a number 2 for a sequel. They always have a different name. The new
Yeah.
name is the new name is Tears of the Kingdom, I think.
Okay.
So I didn't watch the trailer for it yet. I just saw that the image of it, or I saw something. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's the name, Tears of the Kingdom. So makes me want to play Age of Calamity, which is the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity that takes place in the past. Though I don't know if it's canon. See, I don't know if it's supposed to be a non-canon retelling of canon events, because I think there's time travel shenanigans thrown in, and like the past gets changed. So obviously that's not going to impact Breath of the Wild, because it's like, oh, obviously that's not canon unless they decided to make it non canon. But I think Age of Calamity is non canon. But the thing is, what I'm thinking of is like up, like from the beginning up to whenever that happens, is that canon? Because
Right.
obviously time travel didn't happen yet. So I want to play Age of Calamity because I want to see, like, at least like about what happened, about meaning like estimate, like I want to see like roughly what happened, even if it's not exactly the same.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I want to finish the first Hyrule Warriors, which, like, I finished the story, but I was trying to get everything, and I had like hundreds of hours in it.
Right.
I had hundreds and hundreds of hours because I played it 3 times. I played it on the Wii or Wii U, which at the Wii U. Then I played it on the 3DS because they added stuff to it.
Nice.
And then I got the definitive edition on the Switch. So overall, too many hours.
Right. It's been a while since I played a Zelda game. I've been kind of itching. I played a little bit of
Mm,
Breath of the Wild, and I did acknowledge that it was beautiful and fun, but I never really got into it enough to really sink my teeth in.
really?
Yeah, really. Because I think my brother got it for the Wii U. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course I didn't live at home, so
Mm.
he was playing it, and then I would just come over and play it sometimes, but that's the extent of what I knew. So I could definitely get it for the Switch at this point and try it out because yeah, the
You
second one's
should.
coming.
Yeah. And I think it's so I don't know how much you know about the Zelda timeline, but it's like a three-way timeline. It like branches. And
Yeah,
I think this is supposed to be like the end, like Breath of the Wild is the end of the timeline in the sense that it just takes place after everything.
yeah,
So it's like a fresh new start, but it's not specific as to which of the 3 timelines it's in. And then people have noticed things from each timeline in it, and it's like, so do they all converge, or is those just like hints at things? So it's like it's still a mess in that respect.
yeah.
Um, and then there was the theory that Game Theory made, where the first Hyrule Warriors causes a convergence, because in the game it like all the different timelines, like things of the different timelines come together. But then I'm like, that doesn't. I mean, like, that's an interesting idea, but at the end of the game, all the things that came together go back to where they came from anyway. So it's like it didn't
Mm,
converge the timeline; it just sent them back.
right,
So I was like, interesting idea, but it doesn't work
right.
unless like they actually stayed in the timeline, or something. But there were somebody, like I saw it pointed out that there's minerals or something in Breath of the Wild that's like, like salt from the Great Sea or something like that, that like would hint at the, like, oh, then maybe Wind Waker was in this timeline because the world was flooded. So
Mm,
I don't know. But then it's like there's like hints to almost every game. So the way you have to think of it is these events could have all happened in each timeline in a different way, or like just because something from another game is referenced doesn't mean that the game happened, but just like the thing from the game exists. For example, like, I don't know, Majora's Mask, let's say.
mhm,
Um if like, I don't remember what was in, like, I don't remember what hints were in it, but like Majora's Mask I think is a DLC mask, and I think it just lets you talk to like the enemies, or they don't attack you or something. I don't remember specifically, but I think like Majora's Mask is in the game. It's like, oh, does that mean Majora's Mask happened this timeline? I'm like, well, the mask itself could have been in all timelines, but the game itself, Majora's Mask, those events only happened in one. So it's kind of like you have
okay,
to kind of pick and choose and be like, which references mean the game happened and which references mean that it's just a reference, you
gotcha.
know?
So it's up to the player to really think about
I
it?
guess, and Nintendo's not saying any one way or the other, and I have a feeling they don't want to,
Right.
because they probably want to just be like, this is a fresh new start.
Yeah. Huh.
But
Interesting. I just
yeah,
remember Twilight Princess the most, but
Not Ocarina of Time?
I remember Ocarina a little, but it was a long time ago. Twilight Princess is a little bit fresher for me. Yeah.
Ocarina of Time is my favorite.
Oh, is it? I have,
Well, that was the first Zelda game I played.
yeah, that makes sense. That was probably one of the first ones for me too. I never played Majora's Mask, but I've heard good things. And
So people complained
yeah,
about the remake for Majora's Mask on the 3DS, and I gotta say, like, it's just like, why are you complaining?
I
Like,
don't
you
know.
can
People
go back and
always
play the
find something to complain
N64
about.
one on like every system, so why do you gotta complain about this one remake? Like, I think they wanted all the graphics and or certain things I could kind of get, like the face on the moon. They changed the face of the moon,
Sure,
and
it's
so
pretty
it's not
iconic.
as
Yeah.
eerily creepy, and now it just looks angry, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But the graphics look better, or like they changed the swimming mechanic for Zora Link, so it's some people don't like it, and I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but whatever.
Yeah, then
So like it
buy
was
the
an
other one.
improvement in some ways.
Mhm.
Definitely the bomber's notebook. Like you can schedule things and have it like an alarm go off to like remind you, oh, this is coming up.
Right.
So it's just like way more. It was a way more organized game in the remake,
I see.
I would say.
Less chaotic. Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it'd be kind of fun to have some chaos, but to each his own. Mm. Oh, and Link to the Past, I also played. That was a
That
good
was a good
one.
one too.
Yeah, that was a good one. And then I remember briefly Phantom Hourglass, so briefly, but that's about it.
I want before the eShop goes down, I gotta get Minish Cap on the Wii U because I've never played Minish Cap, and I was really hoping they would put it on the 3DS because they had it on the 3DS for the Ambassadors program. I'm like, all right, it's gotta come eventually, and it never came. And at this point, the eShop's going down, so I'm like, all right, I guess I gotta get it on the Wii U.
Yeah, Manish Cap.
It's like in spring of next year. I think the eShop's just going down. So just
Oh,
buy any Wii U and 3DS digital games you can because you'll never be able to get them ever again.
oh shoot.
So I was like, I was buying things that I think I would be interested in playing, um, because I know I would never be able to again. Like Dylan's Rolling Western. There's
Okay.
3 Dylan's Rolling Western games, and they're all digital only 3DS. I'm like, well, unless they port this, there
Right.
will be no way to play this ever. So I'm like, since I was interested in playing it, I was like, yeah, I guess I'll buy these. But it's just like it's just annoying that you have to buy something because you anticipate playing it, because you won't be able to buy it in the future. I'm like, this is really annoying, you
Yeah.
know?
What's the
And I
reason
went
for
back
shutting
and
down the eShop? Do they have a reason?
I don't know. I think they have a. I mean, they've got to have a reason.
I mean, I
Maybe it's
guess.
costing too much money to keep it up, and maybe they're not making as much. That's just a guess. That
Mm,
hasn't. I don't know, but I would imagine that if you have the eShop up for 3DS and Wii U, and they're for platforms that are not really being supported anymore,
yeah.
maybe from their point of view is, oh, we're selling things on the Switch eShop. People aren't really. Maybe people are. I mean, I'm sure people are still buying stuff, but not as much. So they're probably thinking, it's not as cost effective to keep it up, which is a shame
Yeah.
because there's a lot of things exclusive to that.
Yeah. That is the shame of it is the exclusivity. So,
And that goes for DLC too, for all those games
oh
that had
shit.
DLC, you know?
Yeah.
So like the Fire Emblem games, they had a lot of DLC just as like, oh, this character or this
Yeah.
mission. So I went back and bought the DLC. I was like, this is so annoying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not even playing this. Like, I beat this game. I'm probably not going to go back and play it. But if I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to play this DLC. So it's just like, I guess I'll buy this DLC for this game I'm probably not going to play again. This is really
Just in
frustrating.
case.
Exactly, the just in case.
Ugh.
I mean, imagine like 20 years from now, and I'm just like, I would like to play that game again. I'm like, there's this DLC I'll never be able to access. So,
Yeah. Wait,
you
when
know,
is it shutting down? What day?
I don't know the day.
You know, it's
Could
like
be in like a March, April, or May, or
March,
maybe
April, or May.
February. in like
Okay.
the early springtime. But they
Mm.
did close the ability to add money to the eShop. So the only way you can get money into your account on the eShop is to either use a Nintendo card, like buy a card for the eShop with money on it, or connect your account to your Switch account or your My Nintendo account. And when you add money onto your Nintendo account, it by default adds it to the 3DS and Wii U one as
Hmm.
well because the accounts are connected.
Okay.
So, and I realized my account's connected, so I'm like, okay, good. So I could still get stuff, but
Nice.
I only have a few months. So I
Yeah.
was thinking, like, what do I want to get that I won't be able to get? And
Gotta make
so
a
I
list.
got a bunch of things, and then I'm like, oh, I started thinking of other things, you know?
Right.
It's like really, really annoying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're smart though. You're thinking ahead and you're making a list, and now
Is
you're
it
not gonna have
smart
any
though?
regrets. Well, you're not gonna have any regrets. So smart in that
Unless I
way.
forget to get one, like, because there's too many games, and like there's stuff I didn't even think of, you know. And then I'm like, oh wait, there's this game, and then so I kind of get that one.
Yeah.
Like I gotta get Minish Cap because I never played it. I'll probably get Earthbound Beginnings and Earthbound on the Wii U or something, and probably never play it, but at least I'll have it. You know, it's just like
Right.
really annoying to have to even like get stuff that you might play.
Right.
It's like really, come on.
I know, and watch them like release something on the Switch, and you're just
Yeah.
like, dang.
Well, so they have the the Switch Online has the different systems, but it's my perception of that is like a video game streaming service. So it's like you stop paying for online, you stop having access to that game. Whereas if you buy the game, if it's on the 3DS or the Wii U, you have that on your system forever or until the data goes kaput,
Right.
which is another issue. Imagine spending the money to like make sure you had stuff and then like your system breaks and you're like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll keep the ability to re-download stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Like,
know
is
if
there like
what
a
they're taking
cloud?
down is yeah, I don't know if what they're taking down is just the ability to purchase
Hmm.
or if they're taking the whole shop down. Because if they took the whole shop down, I don't know how you would be able to re-download anything.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
So I'm like really confused on what it means for and there's definitely like I'm not advocating for pirating, but it's really pushing people to like pirate, you know? It's like
Yeah.
there's that meme of the from SpongeBob where I the villain, like the Stingray guy, and he's like trying to give Patrick his wallet, and he's like, "Oh, your ID is in here, right?" And he's like, "Yup." And he's like, "So that must mean this would be yours, right?" And he's like, "Sounds about right." And he's like, "So here's your wallet." And he's like, "That's not my wallet." Like, and so somebody took that meme, and they set it as like I think Patrick is Nintendo, and like the guy handing them the wallet is like a consumer, and they're like, I want to buy this game, and they're like, yeah, and it's like, but it's on the eShop or something, and then it's like, but
Yeah.
the eShop is down, or I forget the exact thing, but it's along that line, those lines of like, okay, so here's the money, let me have it, and then they're like, and then the response from Patrick, who's supposed to be Nintendo, is like their statement of like, we have no intentions of porting this game to the Switch in the near future or something like that. And he's just like, ah.
God.
And it's so true.
Yeah.
They want you to buy their games and not pirate it, but then they don't offer you the game. So it's like, well,
Right.
how am I gonna play this? How am I,
Yeah, Nintendo is pretty notorious for that. Isn't that like
Yeah.
they're they don't play fair. Mm-mm.
Who does?
No, that's true. That's very true. But they're also just
At this
like,
point,
our
it's
games are
it's.
$60 forever. I'm like,
I know, because of branding.
sorry.
They'll. It's like the only time they won't be $60 is when you can't buy them anymore.
Yeah,
In
right?
which case they'll be like $200 on eBay.
Right. Exactly.
Like I should have got it when it was 60.
That's why I'm like, I'm
Ugh.
trying to buy so much here because it's like so cheap. All the Nintendo titles are cheap. And there's just Splatoon
Mm,
everywhere. Like Splatoon 3 is like
really?
the biggest advertisement right now. Yeah, it's everywhere. I go into like a 7-Eleven and they're like, "Do you want to buy a Splatoon donut?" And I'm like,
What do they look like, Splatoon donuts?
"They look radioactive. I don't know if I want to eat them. They look very
Oh, take a
colorful."
picture.
Yeah,
Take
I'll take some
pictures.
pictures. Yeah, they have like a squid burger and
A
then like
squid
a
burger.
donut. They
Is there
have like
actual squid on it?
jellies. I think it might actually be squid, yeah. Um
I don't know if I like that.
it
I like my beef burgers.
it's odd. It's very interesting the way that like and they're like not even refrigerated either. Like they just put stuff like on a shelf
Hmm.
and I'm like a squid burger, not refrigerated. Hmm. And then like right next to a radioactive pudding. I'm like,
A radioactive pudding.
it's so bizarre. But yeah, Splatoon is everywhere. I walked out of like Shibuya Station, that big square like with like the Hachiko statue. And like I turn around and it's just
Hmm.
a Splatoon billboard. And I'm like, oh my God, is it not out yet? Like it's everywhere.
Is it not
Is
out
it
yet,
not
or
out
is it
yet?
out?
I don't know. I'm just like,
I don't know. I haven't played.
oh man.
I I I I'm not too into like the first person shooters,
No.
and I know it's not like. I mean, okay, so lately I have not been into just playing multiplayer online.
Mm,
Because I'm just like, all right, let me just play a story and then get back to what I have to do because I'm too busy. So it's and like going through a story takes forever just because I can only play a little bit at a time. So I haven't been able to like sit down and just play the same thing over and over again for hours.
right.
And that's not, and I when I say the same thing over and over again, I don't mean that like derogatorily or whatever.
No, but
Like
I mean it's
I
true.
mean
Like,
like just playing a new match
yeah,
over and over again. It's like okay, I'll do like a few, and then I'm like, all right, I gotta do something else.
right.
Like, um,
I feel you.
so it's like I gotta allocate my time to like, oh, what's the story in this new game? Like, I wanna know what happens next. And, oh, that was a fun experience.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like your typical Final Fantasies and stuff. Like, what's the story? But then, like for like Resident Evil 8, I played the story and I was really excited that they were bringing Mercenaries back in some form, and I have not played Mercenaries yet because
Mm,
I was just like, I don't really.
right.
It's like I have to move on to the next game now to experience that story. I have
Right.
like a pile of RPGs that I haven't touched.
I feel you. I'm mostly someone who enjoys a story-driven adventure game. Those are
Yeah.
usually my bread and butter. I have been told by a lot of friends to try Final Fantasy 14, which I think is a massive multiplayer, right?
Maybe one of them is. I don't know which one. I think
Yeah.
it's 14.
I think there is like story behind it. So I'm like, I love Final Fantasy. I'll give it a shot. But I also I don't know if I don't know if that's a Switch title. I think that might just be a
I have no idea.
PC and maybe PlayStation, but I have thought about going to an internet cafe here and seeing if I could play like a multiplayer
Hmm.
game. I don't know if internet cafes have the capacity for like a streaming game like that, but I have been wanting to try.
Whoop. I just hit the mic or hit the desk. I don't know if it made a noise.
I couldn't tell.
Internet cafes. So people bring their consoles to internet cafes?
I think you can rent consoles. I think you can
Hmm.
bring a console. I think it depends on what you want. I think you can rent out rooms with like monitors that has like a basic internet, and then maybe you can upgrade, or maybe you can rent out consoles. I think it's like an upgraded manga cafe. So I just kind of want to
Hmm.
see for myself what is possible at an internet
Right.
cafe. And if it is possible, because all I have is a Mac laptop and my Switch. So I can't play any
Hmm.
like massive, I don't know, League of Legends type things. So I
No.
kind of wanted to try Final Fantasy 14. and I just don't know if my Mac could handle it. So
Right. Hmm.
I know. I'm very
Is it
curious.
even playable on Mac?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I could look into it, but I doubt it.
Hmm.
But
I don't know.
apparently, Splatoon 3 is out in Japan
Oh,
and
okay.
surpassed 3.45 oh, 3.45 million units in the first 3 days.
Wow. Does the second and third game have a story mode? I think the second one does.
Yeah, I'm kind of playing through the story mode right now, and it's interesting. It's just I don't know if I love that part of the Splatoon games. I'd rather just play like multiplayer online
Because
and
I,
just keep
yeah,
going.
because I played the first game, the story, and then I did a few matches online afterwards, and I got a little frustrated
Yeah,
because everybody else was just so good, and I was like, "Oh, so this is something I would need to practice at, right? All right, I don't
right.
have time to practice," and I
Yeah,
stopped.
it would be something I had to practice at a little bit. I it's fun once you get the hang of it, but yeah, it's that
Yeah,
period between.
I don't think I'm. Maybe, maybe I would need to get better at them, but I don't think like those running around, hiding and shooting people kind of games is my style.
Sure.
Because I get frustrated when like it's like, oh, I'm about to shoot this person, and then someone out of nowhere shoots me. It's like I wasn't even focusing on you. Like, leave me alone, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, but that's the game, and it's like, oh, then I guess I just don't
Yep.
like that, you know.
That is the game. That is the game. Frustration and
So it's just like a battle royale, and I
desperation.
guess I don't like that.
Yeah, that's fair. To each his own. I don't really love it in most cases either. I don't know. Splatoon is like a little bit more of like a completionist feeling for me, just
Hmm.
in the sense of like, I just have to get this paint as much as possible. But I feel you on the shooter one. That does get frustrating. Although I
Hmm.
imagine if you're really good at it, it could be really fun. But
It could also just be the fact that I'm not good at it because I get frustrated at other things too that are
mm,
completely different, like a fighting game,
yeah,
playing somebody who just combos you and gets a perfect on you.
mm,
Like they just combo you to like the first hit all the way to killing you, and you're just like, I didn't even touch you. Like
hmm,
you didn't draw. And so it's like I get that some people love being able to combo and they're like, oh look what I did, and it's like even if I sat down for hours to practice that combo, I probably still would not be able to remember how to do the combo. So
right,
it's just like for me, I don't get a kick out of that because it's like, oh, you had all the time in the world to perfect that combo that you just threw on me, who like I'm just trying to remember how do I punch again.
right,
It's just like this isn't fair.
yeah,
But then like there's the whole get good and you're like, yeah, give me a hyperbolic time chamber and I'll get good.
right. No, exactly.
But also you have to have the interest, and it's like even if I did have all the time in the world, do I want to not saying like does anybody want to do it, but like do I personally want to sit there and perfect it? I'm like, not really. If I had all the time in the world, there's other things I'd probably want to spend that on.
Right, exactly.
Probably like my projects, like
Yeah.
my comic that I have no time to work on. It's like, oh, I have time for that, I might as well work on it, you know.
Yup.
So I guess to each their own.
Yeah. I go to school with this guy who is a really good Smash player, and he uh, participated in a tournament a couple months ago with the best players in the world, apparently.
Hmm.
And he was like, it was so frustrating. And I'm like, I can only imagine if they are the best players
Mm.
in the world. He was just like, they just made me look like,
Like you didn't know how to play.
yeah, and like they were
Yeah,
just
when you go up against
ridiculous.
people who like really take the time, you're just like, well, I'm done
Yeah,
forever.
just like, wow,
It's
congratulations.
like,
I even walk into like there's so many arcades here. Like, oh my gosh, and I can't even tell you the focus on some of these people playing these arcade games. There's there's this game where like it's a circle and like people wear like they bring gloves so they can just play this over and over again. And it's like a rhythm game and you just see them like going like this And I'm just like,
Oh, is it the
how
one where like the
long?
lights are coming at you and you're
Yeah.
like hitting them away?
I can't even tell you. Like, it's insane. I'm like, how long did you spend like playing this? And like, there's that one game that's like, you just tap like, and the dexterity of like their hands, like while they're doing this, are just like, I'm like, they're just like, what? I walked into a bar once and they were just playing a tournament on TV. There were people cheering for separate teams on just like this arcade game. They were having like a tournament on this arcade game, and
Huh.
people were watching it at a bar, like cheering. And I was like, whoa. I just
What game?
it was another rhythm game, but it was like I don't know, they just really love like rhythm games here. They have
Hmm.
a whole floor on every arcade of just like people playing these like
Wait, there's different floors of this arcade?
oh, multiple arcades have multiple floors. It's
Really?
insanity. Yeah. Arcades are
Hmm.
huge here. There's like a claw machine floor, and then you go above it, there's like a music game floor with like Guitar Hero and like drums and like piano games and like these rhythm games. And you go above and there's like pachinko, and then you go another set above and it's like classic, and then you go one more, it's like bowling. I'm like, what is happening? It's
Hmm.
insanity. Yeah, arcade culture is a sight to behold.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting. Is it bigger than in the US?
definitely.
It's gotta be,
Definitely.
right?
It's definitely bigger than the US. Yeah, I mean, you'd see like salarymen in their suits come after work just chill in an arcade for a couple
Wow.
hours. And I'm just like,
Hmm.
that's what they do. It's insane. They show arcade tournaments on TV. Like, okay,
I mean, here there's I don't know if it's like Dave and Buster's or something, but they have like the
sure.
arcades that are also bars.
Right.
And so you get like the like 20s and probably 30s aged people go there to play some old arcade games, but
Yeah.
they're probably mostly there to drink and have something to do while they're drinking and
Right.
talking. So it's more of like an outing than going to actually play at an arcade.
Yeah. And there's a
And
lot of
usually
arcades
it's
here
much
that don't
smaller.
allow alcohol. So,
There are
yeah,
Wait,
most of
say
the
that again?
arcades don't allow alcohol
Oh.
on like most of the levels of actual like machines.
Hmm.
They'll allow alcohol on like the dart floor or like the bowling floor, but like then when you actually
Hmm.
come to the arcade floors, you can't have alcohol.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
it's very different.
The dart floor.
The dart
There's a whole
floor.
floor for darts.
I mean, yeah, darts and like pool, I guess.
And so that one you're allowed to have alcohol or you're not allowed to have
That
alcohol.
one you can have alcohol, yeah.
So you can have alcohol while throwing darts.
Hmm.
That sounds safe.
But don't
But
get
then
it near
bars.
any of the machines.
But I mean, that's interesting because bars do have darts. So
Yeah.
I guess I just don't understand why that's safer than having it near machine unless they're worried about spilling it on the machine. But then you wonder, are you allowed to have soda or
I
water near
think
the machines?
I think it's a combination of like they're worried about just safety. Because there's a lot of like DDR, there's like a lot of drumming games, like they just don't want people to be drunk and drumming. Um, and I think there's also not a lot of space. They cram these machines like next to each other and then just put like a plastic sheet between them. So like there's not a lot of space to put your drink. So I think that might be
Hmm.
another reason. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, probably a combination of those. But
Hmm.
it's insane. There's a lot of I saw one that was like a Pokemon trading card simulation thing and I was like just like blown away.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What kind like what do you mean by simulation?
I don't even know. It's like I just saw people bring like Pokemon cards to like this giant screen, and I think it's I don't even know. I don't even know. It was just like,
It must read the card, you know.
yeah. Is it like a fighting thing? Is it a collection? I just
It must be to actually play the game, but maybe against computers or something. There's just the whole
yeah,
interactivity of having the physical
it
thing.
must
That's
be.
interesting. I heard of it's like Dragon Ball Heroes or something, which I think is a card battling game, and I think they have arcades, and I think there are arcades that like give you prize cards, so
Yeah.
like you can win cards. So that must be the incentive to play is probably to get a new card.
Yeah.
Um, in which in turn you use the physical cards to play. So it's just like a whole different avenue or different way to play the physical game. Like if you didn't have anybody to play with, you can bring it to the arcade
Yeah.
and also, I guess, in a sense, show off to other people. Like, oh, look what I'm capable of doing. So I could see the draw for it. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like if I had a deck of cards and I had like a really good deck and I was like really good at it. There's a motorcycle outside. Did you hear that on your end?
I did.
Because
Yeah.
it's like there's like a highway and it's just noisy sometimes. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so if I had like a really good deck and strategy and I was like winning a lot, I can see the draw for wanting to play that with the screen for other people to watch and be like, oh, like I could see the draw of
Totally.
like kind of like bragging or showing off, like look
Yeah.
how good I am.
And there's
It's like,
plenty
oh,
of
I'm just doing it to play.
right. And there's plenty of spectators at arcades too, so I could
Hmm.
definitely see people just walking around, including me, just going like, "Whoa, wow. People are so good. Wow, you're so good at that game." Yeah.
I mean, you'd only know if they were good if you sat down and watched them play it
Yeah. Oh, I've
or were
definitely seen.
familiar with the game.
It's just like I walk by and like they're just like doing this like and you see like a combo 561. I'm like, "What?" And it's like going by like so fast. I'm like,
Hmm.
the
You
hours
mentioned
spent.
Smash before, and I saw people hoping that on in the Nintendo Direct there would be a third wave of DLC, and I'm just like, I'm not expecting it, but why wouldn't you? Like, I still don't
Right.
understand why they ended the DLC.
Right.
And then you have what I mentioned before we recorded. They have the multiverses, which
Yeah.
is basically like the Smash Bros. For I guess Warner Bros. Or I think it's Warner Bros. Or
Yeah.
whoever, Warner and other stuff or whoever. But I mean, they have a completely different model where it's free to play. But I tried it out for the first time the other day, and if you're someone who likes to unlock everything, you're not going to, unless you're
Ooh.
spending hundreds, because it's like, um, there's different. So the different things are like the different costumes and different profile icons and all that different stuff. But if I was gonna play online with somebody, I mean, the only thing I would personally be focused on is, oh, I would like to have all the different costumes, and maybe they actually have different types of ring outs. So, like, you know, if you're familiar with Smash and you're ringing out a character, and then they have like the explosion from the side of the screen, they have customizable ones like to different flares for when somebody gets thrown out, whether it's like hearts or like an explosion, like different
Uh,
kinds of things. So there's like all different aesthetics to purchase with the in-game currency. So there's gold, which you get as you play, and there's something else. I think it's called Gleam, and I think you can only get Gleam by paying, and like all the all those aesthetic things are like unlockable via Gleam. So it's like, oh, so I gotta pay for it with money.
right.
And then you look at the amount, like the equivalent is like, I don't know, like some things are like 1,500 Gleam, and that could be like $10 maybe. I don't know, but it's like this adds up.
Yeah.
And so somebody told me, actually, Papa Genos, who comes on the channel sometimes, but he has his own channel where he talks about games like Smash and stuff, and he said that somebody did the math. If you wanted to actually unlock everything, it's like $250. I'm just like, are you
Whoa,
serious?
that is
So
annoying.
like, so I like that it's free to play, but I anticipated this, but it's much worse than I anticipated. I personally would be like fine with throwing down $20 to unlock a set of costumes.
Yeah,
You know, like give me some sets at a reasonable, like even Smash's DLC wave was like $20 or $25. It's like that's fine. But it's just it's different. It's like, oh, you want this different costume for Wonder Woman? It's like you're gonna need to give me $10 for one costume. It's like what? You know? And so you
right.
got like a number of characters, and each character has like one or two costumes. And like some of the costumes are in these are unlocked through this like tier system. Like as you play more, like I think all free to play games do this, or I've seen a bunch of them do this. There's like a string of tiers, like level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so as you play, this like the meter fills up, and then so you play a few games, and then you hit tier 1, then you play another few games and hit tier 2. So just as you play over and over and over again, so there's different tiers, and like one of the like some of the unlockables in the tiers, they're called passes. Like you get this pass, for the season, but you can unlock stuff that way too, like some costumes and those flares and icons and profile images and banners and stuff.
Right.
But you have to like one of them is a basic one and the other one is a premium one, which again you have to pay for. So it's like I have to pay and then just play constantly to try to unlock this thing before like the end of September before you take it down. And it's like then I can't access those costumes anymore. Which I think when they open up the shop, hopefully they put all the costumes affordably. I'd rather just purchase a bundle of costumes. It's like, oh, like if you play up until now, it's like the early access version of it. But oh, here's all the costumes from season 1 for $20 or something. I'd be like, awesome, But
Right.
like, if they don't do that, it's very frustrating. The mentality of it is you're not going to get everything
Right.
unless you're rich.
That is annoying. Hmm.
Unless you're rich and you have time to play through the passes to get to like rank whatever, and just like
Right.
I only want to do like 1 or 2 rounds, and then I'm like, all right, I'm done, and like I haven't touched it in days. I'm like, that was fun, but I would rather just like if a friend comes over and be like, oh, let me pop this in and play with you, and then like I probably won't touch it again for another month. Like that's what I do with Smash. That's why I used to be good at it, and now I kind of suck at it because I don't touch it as much anymore. And like a friend comes over, I'm like, let's pop it in, let's play a few rounds, and then I don't play it again for another 1 or 2 months. Like the next time they come over.
Right.
So they do Multiverses does have a good thing with the couch co-op because you have to unlock characters with Gleam also, I think, or Gold maybe. It might be Gold, but you have to unlock them either way. Um, but what I do like is for local play, which I guess is couch co-op. The characters are unlocked, so
Hmm.
they're only locked if you play online. However, the costumes and stuff are still locked. I'm like, why don't you just have all the local stuff unlocked for people who don't want to play online and stuff? And it's just like really
Right.
frustrating because I don't really have the interest to play matches online. Like for me, this type of game would be like if I'm playing with a friend. So online, I guess with a friend too, which in that case I'd have to unlock the characters, which kind of sucks. But
Right.
I feel like there should be this kind of like separation between playing online ranked random matches and all that stuff. You'll need to unlock stuff, but if you just want to play some casual matches with friends that are like not ranked, or you want to play couch co-op, then everything should be unlocked. Like I think that would be a better way to do it, and I can see the incentive for them to not do that, but
Yeah, I was
that's
about to
what it
say
should be, I think.
money.
Yeah, but it's like an
Big incentive.
unrealistic amount of money though,
Yeah.
and time.
Right.
You even if you were rich, like, and you had $250 to just throw away, you still won't unlock everything because you got to play through the premium pass. So you need to have time and money.
Ah.
And it's like, that's frustrating. Even if I was rich, I have to also have no, I shouldn't say no life, because I don't know. It could, for all I know, it could take like an hour to unlock. But the point is,
Right.
I don't want to sit there and like chip away. It's like, I gotta get this Bugs Bunny costume, which is at the end of the pass, where he's wearing like
Right.
the like not Valkyrie, but like the chorus, like when he has like I think it's like the opera outfit or something. I forget what it's
Yeah,
called,
yeah.
but it's like, I think that's the last costume in the premium, and it's just like, I don't know how long it would realistically take to unlock that,
Right.
but it's just like, really, time and money. But otherwise, it's pretty fun, like to
Yeah.
just play casually. Like I tried out a couple of characters, and I was like, they're pretty
And it's
pretty
free to
fun.
play?
Yeah, it's free to play. If you just want to
Just like the basics.
play.
Right. All right,
So,
well. Hmm. I mean, it would be what if you just don't want to get everything? Like what if you just is it worth it if you just kind of want to like
well, that's
focus
the
on one
thing.
character and like, you know?
Then I think that's the best way for someone to like get their money's worth out of it, or time out of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's
Pick
what the
one
youth. I think
character.
that's what the average person probably would do. They
Right.
would probably be like, "Oh, this is the character I use, and I like that costume for him." Like,
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, that's how I would do it, if I was playing this game. Like, the costumes they actually call variants, and so some of these costumes are actually like alternate characters,
Like different
and
skins.
yeah, so they're almost like Echo Fighters for Smash.
Okay.
So there's a mix of alternate costumes and alternate characters, and I think they just all have the same moveset. I think like for Finn from Adventure Time, I think there's like some kind, I forget what it's called, like a grass Finn or something, where it's like all green and grass. And I think the character in the series actually has a different voice. So I
Mm,
think for that variant, when it comes out, unless it's already out, but I think when that character comes out, that variant comes out, it'll have a different voice and it'll have a completely different model. But I think it shares the same moveset. So like, that's cool.
hmm.
So if I used Finn, or was interested in a variant in particular of a character and want to learn it, it's like, oh, I like that character. Um, I would be incentivized to be like, oh, I'll buy that.
Right. Hmm. It's Warner Brothers, Cartoon Network, DC.
Yeah, I think Warner Bros. Has a license, or the license for DC
Okay.
shows. So like, I don't know the copyrights of it or the licensing, but Warner Bros. Is usually associated with DC, at least in cartoons, but probably more. I think Cartoon Network might be somehow tied into it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
But
guess
it seems to be,
if Finn is a
from what
playable
I've seen, it
character.
seems to be Cartoon Network, DC, um, Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. So somehow Game of Thrones. I think there's some third party stuff in that sense.
Interesting.
Like they added in, uh, I forgot what he's called. The character from Gremlins, the little fuzzy guy.
Oh,
And they're going to be adding in one of the Gremlins, I think called Spike or something.
okay.
So they seem to be like adding random things here and there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, so they actually they show what series stuff is from. So it'll say like Looney Tunes, DC. Um, Instead of like saying Batman is from Batman, it says Batman from DC.
Right.
And then I like then they'll get more specific with certain specific things, like Finn is from Adventure Time, or
Mm,
what the Steven Universe characters say Steven Universe.
right.
So,
Makes sense.
but it
Oh,
is
Steven Universe
exciting to
character.
see
That'd be
where
cool.
it's gonna go.
Yeah.
What?
That the Steven Universe character, that'd be fun to play as.
Yeah, I think they have two.
Okay.
Steven and, oh, I just put up my middle finger. Steven and one of the characters with the gems. I
One
don't
of
know the
the
characters.
okay. That'd be pretty sick. That'd be
Uh,
fun. But
Scooby
yeah,
Doo. They have
oh,
Velma
Scooby Doo.
and Shaggy, of course.
Nice. They have Scooby?
No, but I think that there was talks or leaks of adding him. There's a whole leak. One of the speculated or leaked characters that I'm actually excited for is Powerpuff Girls, and I don't know if it's
Mm,
going to be one where there's like a variant of each, or if they're going to add like each one like separately. But what I want to see is the three of them together as like
yeah.
one, and I want to see variants of like hopefully the by default they have their original classic look, right?
Hmm.
And so I didn't care for the reboot, but it would
Not a
be
lot of people
nice to
did.
see that. Yeah, it would be nice. Do you like the reboot?
No.
Okay, but it would be nice to see that as a variant, or if that was the default, I would hope that they would have the classic as a variant. But then like it opens the doors for other variants like throughout the I mean, I didn't watch much of the reboot. Like, I think I've seen a few episodes.
Yeah, me
But
too.
in the classic, there was a lot of alternate costumes, like whether they went to the beach and they were wearing their bathing suits, and they just had a
Yeah.
whole summer event. So
Mhm.
some characters have like pool or beach stuff. Like I think the Iron Giant has like a floaty tube thing around him.
Cute.
Um, so like they can have the bathing suit versions. They can have their superhero identities like Liberty Bell, Mange, and was like something Bunny or something. I forget the Bubbles is one, but they have their
Oh.
superhero ones. They
Bunny
have
was the other
the Rowdy
sister.
Rough Boys. What?
Oh, Bunny was the
The
other
Rowdy?
sister, the big purple one.
Yeah, but she, but Bubbles herself had her superhero identity in that one episode. I think the episode was called
Right.
Super Zeros. So like Blossom had the like Wonder Woman esque called Liberty Bell. Buttercup had the like Spawn esque uh, identity called Mange,
Uh-huh.
and Bubbles had some kind of like rabbit or bunny one. I just forget the name.
I also forget.
I just she kept I remember her repeating like her motto, like she was on a pogo stick, and she was like taking forever to even leave the house, and she had this like saying like whatever bunny like I can't even remember it, but she kept saying this thing like I can't remember. I could like hear it in my head, but I can't put words to it.
Right. I do recognize the
But
pogo
the
stick
Rowdy Rough
part.
Boys, there's two versions of them. There's the original, and then there's when they get like resurrected by him.
Oh,
So they have slightly different looks, and I'm like, that right there is two variants, and you
whoa.
can get like their voice actors. So I'm like, please, this would be amazing.
That would be
you
so
know,
sick. Yeah. The Rowdy Rough Boys. Oh my God.
love the Rowdy Rough
Take
Boys.
me back.
I know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So nostalgic.
I know. I miss those days.
I
All
know.
those
Aren't they making
shows,
like
and
a
they're
live
supposed.
action one too?
Oh God.
I know.
Yeah, they had like the script leaked, and then they got so much backlash, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna rework this." It's like, thank
Yeah.
God. But
Yeah.
actually, the original creator, Craig McCracken, I think he's supposedly working on a reboot of the Powerpuff Girls. So I don't know if it's a
Oh,
reboot or if it's like a continuation of
like
the
a
classic. And I
sequel.
hope it's a continuation of the classic because
Me too.
I think they had 6 or 7 seasons, and I'm like, I'm ready for a new season. If the original
Yeah.
creator's coming back, like just continue the classic. Don't even
Right.
reboot it. Just continue the classic how it was. Like you got the right person in charge. Like there was I don't know the amount of time, but I remember being in college and like they had a special after like the show had been canceled for years, and then they came out with a special called the Powerpuff Girls Rule. It was like a one episode just like special where like there's like the key to the world or something,
Hmm.
and he returned to like create that. So I guess he had a big hand in the writing, I think, and it was just like that felt so Powerpuff Girls like classic, like
Yeah.
first batch of seasons. I was like, this is Powerpuff Girls, you know,
Yeah.
and it was so great. And so I'm like, if he's coming back with a fresh new mentality, like just continue where it left off. You know, you don't
Agreed.
need to reboot it over again and like reintroduce these characters all over again. I mean, I guess they'd have to reintroduce them in a way, but Anyway,
Yeah.
so much for talking about games. We're talking about no, actually, we did talk
Oh,
about. I
we talked
mean,
about games.
that spawned off of multiverses. And there's
Splatoon
so much.
donuts.
Yeah, and there's so much more we could talk about, but like, it's a bit late here.
Hmm.
And it's a bit early there for you, right?
Yeah, I do have school, unfortunately.
Yeah. So you have school and I have bed.
Fair. So
Bed,
fair.
bedtime.
What time is it
Or
there?
or or sit on my phone for a while. It is 10:31 p.m.
10:30. Oh, okay. All right. It's 11:30 a.m. for
Mm.
me.
So you
Ah,
starting the day.
yeah, I'm in tomorrow.
Oh, from the future.
From the future.
All
Looking
right.
good.
So I guess I'd say where can they find you, but I'm going to put it in the description. Um
Yes. I'll
but if you want to
give you my links.
list off anything in particular, otherwise, I have a
Um, yeah, I do some Japan vlogs on my YouTube account, and I'm gonna start doing voice acting stuff on there too once I figure that out. And it's
nice
oh God, I think it's Jules Rose VA is my YouTube,
on
and
YouTube.
then yes,
Okay.
Jules Rose VA.
I'll have
Um,
that in the description anyway. So,
nice, nice. And then yeah, I have some socials that I'll also send to you to put in the description. It's usually Sparkle
okay.
Croissant, Sparky Qua, Jules Rose, some variation.
Sparky Craw.
Sporky Qua. I don't know where it's
Qua.
from. Qua.
Qua.
Croissant.
Croissant. Sparky Croissant.
Croissant. I couldn't even
Croissant.
tell you where that name came from. I'm just not even sure. But that's what it is.
Omelette du fromage.
Oh yes. Speaking of good
Dexter's
old
Lab.
cartoons. Yes.
Mm,
Mm.
that's one where they completely changed the style. Like, the art
Yeah.
style changed completely.
Mm.
At least when they changed the art style for Powerpuff Girls, it was still pretty good, in my opinion.
Yeah. It was just
Like, their
a
bodies
crazy
became
script.
smaller. What?
It was just a crazy script. Like a
Yeah.
reboot.
Well, they. Oh no, not the reboot. I mean, like, the actual, like, there was a point in time in Cartoon Network history where, like, I feel like they switched from traditional animation to, like, still kind of
Oh,
traditional maybe, but they
I
use
see.
computers, I think. But you can see the art changed from, like, this looks like markers and this looks like digital.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
so, like, Dexter's Lab was one where the art style completely changed. Like, all the characters
Oh,
look very different. Um,
I don't think I ever
and
saw
Powerpuff
that.
Girls,
Hmm.
really, Powerpuff Girls looked a lot closer to like how it originally was, with just slight differences. Like, the Powerpuff Girls' bodies got a little bit smaller.
Hmm.
Mojo Jojo's ears got pointy. Like, there's little changes here and there, but for the most part, they were the same.
Gotcha. Okay. Hmm.
So yeah, I'm a big Powerpuff Girls fan of the classic, so that's
Yeah.
why I know all this stuff.
No, no, me too. I mean, I haven't watched them in a while, but whew, they have stuck
No,
with me. They have stuck with
no.
me.
Oh,
And Dexter's
I
Lab.
I will stand by what I'll just say this real quick before we head out.
Yeah.
But I kind of stand by my theory of, I think the reboot actually killed the classic.
Mm.
In the sense that, not killed like it ruined it, but what I mean is, before the reboot came out, um, I don't know who was printing it. It might have been IDW. I could be wrong, but there was a comic publisher taking all the old comics and they were reprinting them in graphic novels. Like, so they were coming out with the trade paperback 1, 2, 3, and these were comics that I never read because I guess they were coming out when I was a kid. Excuse me. And I was like, oh, these are new to me, new stories. I mean, they're old, but I've never seen them. So they were reprinting them in graphic novels. And at the same time, they were creating new comics. And I remember speaking to the writer, and he had like long-term plans, at least in the foreseeable future. Um, and out of nowhere, just everything got canceled. The comic got canceled, so like the new comic got canceled, so he had to like quickly wrap up a story that he had planned. And the old comics just stopped getting reprinted, so there's only like 4 or 5 books at most. And then it was just dormant, and then the reboot came out, and I was like, I could have had more classic stories, but the reboot came out and prevented that, because there must have been this whole brand and marketing thing where they were probably like, oh, don't make any more classic stuff, we're shifting focus to reboot, is my guess, because that makes sense, right? Like, why would they
Yeah,
advertise the classic when they're focusing on the original? Like, they wouldn't want to mix up the branding. So that's why when like
that's
you'd see pop
unfortunate.
figures and stuff, it would use the new Powerpuff Girls logo from the reboot, because it's like, why would they want to cross promote? Like, why would they want to promote the old one? Like, from a marketing standpoint,
Yeah,
obviously from a fan standpoint, it makes sense to have like both the original and the reboot. But so I think the reboot killed the classic in that sense, because they stopped making the new material. They were
mm,
reprinting the comics, they were making new comics, and out of nowhere they just canceled, stopped. No word why. I think the writer even told me, "Oh yeah, they just canceled it. I don't know why, but like, just the license or whatever, like they wanted to just cancel it after it had just started up."
that's frustrating.
And then I found out the reboot came out, and then I was like, "Oh, the reboot killed it."
Mm,
And now like the Powerpuff Girls comics coming out are the reboot ones. It's like
mm,
the reboot version. I'm just like, you
that's
know,
annoying.
so close, so close. Because as a kid growing up, I always wanted to read those
Yeah,
comics, and they finally started printing them. I'm like, oh, these are classic stories, and these are good. And I was like, oh, there's this revival of Powerpuff Girls, and it was just like, nope, reboot time. I was like,
I
oh, so
hate
I
that we're so
really,
obsessed as like an as a society and as a nation. Just like so obsessed with reboots. I don't know why. Just leave it alone.
I mean, you can have your reboots and your originals together, but some companies, I guess, don't want to they're like, oh, branding and marketing,
I don't
we can't
know.
do this. Like, why can't you do that?
That's yeah, that's what I mean. It's just kind of
There's
like, and now
it's not
the
like
other
the
one's dead.
90s where it was harder to find information. It's as easy as pulling out your smartphone or logging online somewhere. Like, I guess third world countries, maybe not, but are they watching Powerpuff Girls? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I am not informed enough to be able to say that. Like,
Right.
but I would assume for the most part, it's as easy as saying, "Hey, Powerpuff Girls Classic and Powerpuff Girls Reboot, like, these are different,
Right.
so we have both going on at the same time." It's like, why can't you do that? So, but
I don't know.
anyway,
It's so
that was
frustrating.
my little rant. That was my little rant.
Hey,
So
I'm
I
learning.
hope that the new one coming out is a continuation of the classic. This way, maybe we can see the comics return.
Yeah.
I would love that so much.
Yeah, maybe that's his goal. Maybe he was just like, I'm frustrated. Bring back the
I hope
classic.
so, but Cartoon Network makes that decision, I think.
Ugh,
Anyway, don't get
gross.
me started.
Okay.
Not in a like I have bad things to say, but more in a like I could keep going on
Sure.
and it's late.
Right.
So I don't
Valid.
I don't hate Cartoon Network at all. I'm just frustrated that they canceled something so soon and then they replaced it with a reboot.
That's
But
a
anyway.
valid reason.
Anyway, so your links will be in the description. As of right now, it is just YouTube, but if you want me to put more in, I'll put them in the description.
Yeah.
For me, same thing. I have some outdated links in the sense that I don't really update. Like, I don't log on to Tumblr or SoundCloud. As of now, I might in the future decide to again.
Right.
So I just leave those links in there, but I pretty much use like Twitter,
Hmm.
and like not always, but anyway, those links will be in the description. So
Nice.
I guess that's it, and maybe we'll be back next week. No promises, we've just been so busy,
Yeah, sorry.
but ideally we'll be back next week. Otherwise, see you soon.
Matane.
Okay.